اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك.
National Hajj Commission has made the necessary for your comfort.
The preparation is very good.
I'm very happy, extremely happy, because this is my first time.
And I prepare to follow the rules and regulations given to me.
اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك له. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Glad to have you on the program as you answer the call. Your window into the activities of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, and other Hajj-related matters. I am Rashida Abubakar Yoregula and Co. The provision of medical services to Nigerian pilgrims during the Hajj exercises is a key mandate of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON. This explains why it is necessary for the Commission to constitute a medical team each Hajj season in order to meet the health needs of Nigerian pilgrims in line with international best practices. It is also to ensure compliance with Saudi regulations governing the operation of clinics during Hajj. Over the years, NACON has kept to this tradition, and the 2023 Hajj was not any different. In this edition of the program, we shall examine how the National Medical Team fared in the discharge of its responsibility in meeting the medical needs of Nigerian pilgrims at the just concluded Hajj exercise. Stay tuned for this and more. Also in the program is Making the Hajj, and the discussion is on the conduct of pilgrims after performing the Hajj. Similarly, the edition has other regular segments such as NACON News Diary, which highlight the activities of NACON and other stakeholders in the Hajj industry. Stay with us for these and more.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. As usual, we'll begin the program with the News Diary. Topping the lineup, airlift of Nigerian pilgrims continue in earnest as more pilgrims unite with their families. Plus, state intensified calls for pilgrims to respect luggage guidelines. Details shortly. Stay with us.
The airlift of Nigerian pilgrims back home is continuing steadily, and the National Hajj Commission, NACON, is optimistic that the operations will be completed ahead of schedule. So far, more than 40,000 pilgrims have been brought back since the exercise got underway in the last 3 weeks. The pilgrims are from Nasarawa, Plateau, Sokoto, Zamfara, Lagos, and Ogun states. Before their departure, the pilgrims bear their minds on the 2023 Hajj exercise.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, it was a huge and massive opportunity to come and witness Hajj. All I have to say is Alhamdulillah for everything, and then for the Borno Pilgrims Board and NACOM for putting whatever it takes to make sure that this Hajj is a success operation.
We have to thank Almighty Allah for giving us this opportunity to successfully complete the pillar of Islam, one of the pillars of Islam, that is Hajj. Alhamdulillah, and we are praying to Allah to accept our deeds.
NACON is hoping to conclude the airlift in the first week of August 2023. Meanwhile, pilgrims are continuing with the weighing of their 32 kg luggage for onward delivery to different Hajj camps in Nigeria, where they will claim them upon arrival. As a policy, each pilgrim is entitled to 32 kg main bag and 8 kg hand bag. With the airlift exercise underway, NACON and officials of state pilgrims boards and the FCT have developed strategies to ensure that the luggage of each pilgrim does not exceed the stipulated kilograms they are allowed to carry and to also ensure that they don't carry any prohibited items.
We organize the sensitization and enlightenment to our pilgrims, and then we told them that the luggage is for 32 kg, and then the hand luggage is 8.
As they were packaging their bags, most of those who come around to package the bags for them, they have a weighing machine. So we told them, please ensure that you weigh them in your room before you come to the weighing center proper. So if it is 32, alhamdulillah. But we also informed them that you don't come and embarrass yourself at the weighing center.
We had to, create a little ad hoc committee that will look into that. One, not to allow people to carry contrabands, things that are prohibited, things like metal objects, things like liquid that exceed 100 millimeters in their luggages, both hand and the other 32 kg. So we had to ensure compliance so that we have a hitch-free, conveyance.
The pilgrims share their experiences on how they complied with the luggage rules and regulations.
They say 32. My own clothes is 30. I did my own 30. I didn't opt to that 32 because I don't want embarrassment. And the rest of my colleagues, they're doing their best. Most of them, they are off to 32. Some are 30 or some are 28.
Duk abinda hukuma ta nan mu ba mu saba. Duk abinda hukuma ta ja hankalin mu ba mu saba. Ni na bi kaida, ni na 28 ne ma. Bai kai 30 ba ma.
Over the years, effective handling of pilgrims' luggage and compliance with the policy of not exceeding 8 kg for hand luggage and 32 kg for the main bag contributed greatly to smooth and successful airlift operation.
They have to ensure that whatever...
In other news, the 2023 Niger State Amirul Hajj and Emir of Bargu Kingdom, Dr. Muhammad Sani Halliru Dantoro, has advised NARCON and Saudi authorities to find a lasting solution to the issue of tents shortage in Mina. The Emir stated this during an interview in Mecca shortly before flying back to Nigeria.
They have to ensure that whatever facility we are going to be given here commensurates with the number of our pilgrims that are coming here. If we are not going to have such facilities for them, then there's no point we bring so much number of our pilgrims here to go to suffer. So the NARCON has to actually see that changes have been done. They have to talk to the Saudi authority, because if they don't do that, it means we'll continue to suffer this.
On the feeding arrangements also in Mina, the Bargu said the only way out is for Saudi authorities to allow NARCON and states take that responsibility.
The feeding was centralized, where states have to come and collect from one center. So, and it's too much. It has to be decentralized. In fact, I don't think, I think every state should be allowed to take responsibility of the feeding and accommodation of their own pilgrims. So that if you don't perform well, you know that it is your state that doesn't perform.
Many countries, including Nigeria, experienced shortages of tents and poor feeding services during the stay in Mina and Arafat.
Alhamdulillah, if you're just tuning in, the program is As You Answer the Call, sponsored by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NARCON, to keep you informed about the activities of the Commission and other Hajj-related matters. Very central to the well-being of every Nigerian pilgrim is the provision of quality medical services in the course of the Hajj. And so, to achieve this noble objective during the 2023 Hajj, NARCON again set up the National Medical Team as required by the Act establishing the Commission to meet the medical needs of Nigerian pilgrims at the just concluded Hajj exercise. In the next segment of the program Spotlight, we shall examine how the medical team fared in the discharge of its duties. Keep watching.
لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك.
This is one of the health facilities for outpatients at one of the 9 clinics set up by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACAN, in Makkah al-Mukarramah. When pilgrims take ill, they visit any of the clinics nearest to them and take turns for consultation with doctors and are thereafter provided medication if necessary. The clinics are open to patients every hour of the day.
We know that this year, the 2023 Hajj operation will be a special kind of operation because this is the first time in many years that Nigeria is coming with a very large contingent of 95,000 pilgrims. And with this number, we anticipate that the clinic visits will be very high. There's no age restriction. There's no any other kind of restriction. So we knew that our hands would be full. We offer clinical services, which is mainly establishment of clinics and then and medical consultations and so on. But we also provide emergency response services. We provide public health education services. We introduce infection prevention and control. And then we also provide what we call tracking services.
NACAN cites these clinics closer to where pilgrims reside for ease of access.
We have two main clinics that provide admission services as well. And then we had 7 outposts. These outposts are all located within clusters of pilgrim accommodation. For example, the main clinic is located along Ibrahim Khalil Road in Masfala. And then you have outposts along Kudai within Sokoto House accommodation. And another outpost along Shara Hijra within the Kaduna State accommodation. And we have another outpost in the Riabash area. Riabash is where 100% of pilgrims from the southwest of the country reside. So we established a clinic there as well. And then another cluster is the Sharamosu, the general Sharamosu area. So we have one of our main clinics there. And we also have outposts within the Nasrallah House and Niger House.
In addition to this, clinics are also set up in strategic locations, such as airports. At the last count, the national medical team attended to a total of 80,000 cases across the clinics set up by NACAN.
We've had over 80,000 medical consultations. So when I say 80,000 medical consultation, it doesn't mean that it's 80,000 people that are falling sick, but the 80,000 engagements with doctors. In other words, the doctors carried out 80,000 consultations. So a single person can come up to 3 times, 4 times or so. Now, we've carried out over 80,000 consultations, and the most common ailment was upper respiratory tract infection. That is cough, common cold, what we call common cold.
However, some of the cases that come up for medical attention and are a source of concern for NACAN were the preponderance of pregnancies and related issues. Officials are worried how pregnant women went through screening points in their respective states without being detected and allowed to find their way to the Holy Land.
Someone that is pregnant, for example, and coming to engage in the quite physically exerting rituals of Hajj puts the pregnancy at risk. and also her life at risk. And we have seen so many cases, and we've had even mortality, pregnancy-related mortality. We had several deliveries, as you may have heard. The latest one was yesterday, bringing the number to 4 deliveries within the kingdom. And we've also had a lot of losses of pregnancies, up to about 6. So, and then we had those that either had threatened abortion, that is, the pregnancy is threatened, but were able to safely manage them.
Sequent to this development, NACAN has launched an investigation to get at the root of the matter. The outcome, the Commission says, will determine those to be penalized for compromising the screening process and also the type of measures to be put in place to avoid future occurrences. This much was said by NACAN Commissioner for Planning, Research, Information, Statistics, and Library Services, Sheikh Suleiman Momo, while speaking to journalists in Mecca.
This pregnancy test was conducted in Nigeria. Our states also were impressed to conduct tests. Anybody who was able to with pregnancy is not supposed to be slated for this Hajj. Our NACON staff, we carried out pregnancy tests on them, and we got about 2 pregnant women among NACON staff that were supposed to come. Wallahi, we dropped them. They did not come. We dropped them. Nothing they didn't attempt to do. They wrote, they pleaded, we dropped them. Why? Because we must be seen to be example, to show example to everybody. They are there in Nigeria. Now, we got information from some state medical personnel who confirmed to us when we saw the issue of pregnancy here. They confirmed to our medical team here that they noticed A and B and C were pregnant, and they told the ESCs of this state. And the ESCs told them that we overruled you. And these are people who employed them. And this is one of the reasons why we don't want to leave the medical team in the hands of the state. We have taken note of this, and we are going to act on it.
Other medical cases that had high prevalence rate during the just concluded Hajj exercise were hypertension, diabetes, and fractures among the aged pilgrims.
We've also had other cases, like those with pre-existing hypertension, those with pre-existing diabetes. Some come in with diabetic emergencies, either in coma or going into coma. And then some also presented with long-term complications of what we call chronic complications of diabetes, leading to amputation. We've had about 2 or 3 amputations done so far as a result of complications of diabetes.
The national medical team will remain functional until all Nigerian pilgrims are airlifted back home. Meanwhile, Nigerian pilgrims, particularly those that had cause to visit the clinics, are full of praises for the national medical team constituted by NACAN, as well as the quality of services rendered at the clinics.
I personally benefit a lot from the clinic because initially when we started the IG activities, we faced a lot of challenges. I went outside and bought drugs, and the drugs cost me a lot of money. But when they established this clinic, I always come. This is my 3rd time of visiting the clinic, and the clinic they satisfied me.
Na je wannan asibitin sau biyu. Da farko na je na samu dan targade, na je an kula da ni an bani magani. Na biyu da shike ni mutumin karkara ne ban san AC ba, sanye duken mura ya kama ni na koma aka sake bani maganin mura a wannan asibiti.
Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika lak labbaik.
Masha Allah. Coming up next is Making the Hajj. Tonight, Professor Mansour Sokoto takes us through discussions on how pilgrims should behave when they return home from Hajj. Let's hear him.
لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك
The desire of all pilgrims is to earn Hajj Mabrur, meaning Hajj that is accepted by Allah. To achieve this, pilgrims must imbibe the lessons of Hajj and live with it throughout their lives. On making the Hajj tonight, Professor Muhammad Mansour Sokoto explains how pilgrims should conduct themselves after performing the Hajj. He begins by explaining the concept of Hajj Mabrur.
The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Umratu ila al-Umrah kafaratu lima baynahuma wal Hajjul Mabrur laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-Jannah. When one performs Umrah, he is expected to be expiated of all his sins before doing another Umrah. And Al-Hajjul Mabrur, accepted Hajj, laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-Jannah, has no any reward except the paradise.
Having attained this spiritual status and cleansing, pilgrims must be of good character.
A pilgrim is expected after Hajj to be a better Muslim, to be a better citizen, to be well acquainted with Allah's laws, do's and don'ts, and to be to behave in a better way than he has been before.
Another important thing is for pilgrims to be more dedicated in performing their religious duties, just as they did while in performing the Hajj.
So when a pilgrim comes here, sometimes he feels that he will never commit a sin at all, for fear of Allah, for the piety he has gained. But when he went back, he go to the market, he conducts his businesses, then things will weaken. That's why we are always enjoined to take the acts of Ibadah as our daily affairs. And that's why the 5 daily prayers. That's why the fasting of Thursdays and Mondays, for those who can afford it. That's why the Qiyamul Layl. That's why the charities, sadaqat, and all other things. So one is expected after Hajj to try as much as possible as he can to attach himself to various ibadat that he has been doing.
Similarly, pilgrims are encouraged to be their brother's keepers.
So when Muslims gather every day on 5 daily prayers, one of the main objectives of that is to make them love each other, to make them closer to each other, to identify the problems of each other so as to have solutions for it.
The Islamic scholar advised those preparing to undertake the Hajj to avail themselves the opportunity of understanding Hajj rights as enshrined in Islam.
Alhamdulillah, wishing pilgrims Hajj Mabrur. But before we round off the program, let's take some greetings from pilgrims to their loved ones.
It is indeed a pleasure to me at this time to say hi to my people in my family, particularly in Shongom local government, in person, the executive chairman of the local government, and the entire people of Shongom local government and Gombe State at large.
I use this opportunity to greet our father, that's the Emir of Gombe, for during the Salah Eid al-Kabir and His Excellency the Damajan Gombe, Alhaji Muhammadu Inuwa Haya, who is the number 101 in Gombe, and my family too, my all entire family, both from both sides, and the Muslim Ummah from Gombe State and entire Nigeria.
Once again, Hajj Mabrur. This is where we draw the curtain on today's program. See you same time next week with another edition of the program. But before we go, remember that you can send your messages, comments, observations and questions through our mobile phone number and other social media platforms. Once again, thanks for watching. Ma'asalam.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا